Hi everyone, and welcome back to this video. In this video, we're going to go ahead and look at how to create an order. For the previous video, we looked at how to carry out JWT authentication and how it can protect the different routes that we may protect from all users. So users can be able to access those routes by using a JWT. In this video, we're going to go ahead and look at how we can be able to create a user order. So right now, I'm going to go to the order routes. And here is where I'm going to implement the route for creating an order. So the first thing I'm going to do is to create the schema that's going to allow us to create a new order. I'm going to go to schemas.py. And within schemas.py, I'm going to create a class for the order model. So I'm going to say class. In this case, we're going to say order model. And then this is going to inherit from base model. So after inheriting from base model, we're going to go ahead and attach the different fields to this class. So I'll just come within our models.py. I'm going to copy the different fields specific to our order model. So I'm going to copy these fields on the order model, and then I'm going to come and paste them right here. So we're going to rewrite these fields, and in this case, we're going to use type hinting. So what I'll do is to first provide the ID field. So our ID is going to be an optional integer, and this is because we shall only provide this on our database is automatically going to generate for us an ID for each order we're going to create. What we shall do is to call this an optional. So we shall say it's going to be of type optional, and then it's going to be an integer. For quantity, a user will be able to define a quantity. So what we shall do is to provide this as an integer. And then for the order statuses, it's also going to be an optional since we have a default that is pending. What we're going to do is to come and remove this. So I'm going to just come and say it's going to be our order status. And it's going to be an optional. So it should be an optional string. And the default is going to be pending, just like so for our models. It's going to be pending. So after that, I'm going to go ahead and implement that one of the pizza size. So that one is going to be an optional. So we're going to call this optional. And this will be also a string, which will have a default of small. So after doing that, the next thing we're going to also do is to specify the user ID. So the user ID is also going to be an optional integer that shall be provided by our database. So what we're going to do is to come and remove this. So in this case, we're going to say actually this is going to be type optional. Then this is going to be also type optional. So this will be an optional. And then this is going to also be an integer. I'm going to remove this because it's a relationship, it's not a field. So after doing this, what I'm going to do is to save. So right now we have our order model. So I'm going to go ahead and configure this order model to work with our ORM. What I'll do is to create config. It's going to be config. And right here, what we're going to do is to provide the first config we're going to do is going to be our ORM mode. So our ORM mode is going to enable us to work with our database. ORM mode is going to be true. And then the next thing we shall also provide is going to be a schema extra. So schema extra, and then this is going to be a dictionary. So we shall have an example, and then right here we are going to say that this example is going to have the first field we're going to pass in is going to be a quantity, and then we shall also provide let's say the quantity in this case, let's say we want to order 2, and then let's say the pizza size. And say that the pizza size in this case is going to be let's say large, so 1 to 2 large pizzas. So right now we can also actually the order status and the user ID are not going to be provided by the user, so we can leave this to that. So when I save, I'm going to go to our order routers and then create that route. So the first thing we're going to do is to protect our routes in our order routers. So I'm going to import the auth.jwt class from FastAPI-jwt-auth. I'm going to say from fast-api-jwt-auth. I'm going to import the JWT class. So I'm also going to import the models. So I'm going to say from models, we are going to import our user, and then we're also going to import our order. And then I'll go also ahead and import our schema. So I'll say from schema, we are going to import our order. So after importing our order model, we're going to go ahead and first protect this route. So to protect this route, I'll just add an authorized dependency. So this is going to be of type JWT. And after this, we shall also say that this is going to be a dependency. So we shall call depends function. And what we do is also import that from FastAPI. So I'll say this is going to be a depends FastAPI. So after doing this, I'm going to go ahead and protect this route. So the first thing I'll do is to try to protect this by saying authorize. So this is going to be authorize JWT. Now after doing this, I'm also going to go ahead and accept any exception. So I'll say I'm going to accept any exception as E, and then to raise, it's going to be raise. Going to raise an HTTP exception. So I'm going to import this from FastAPI. So this is going to be a exception. And first thing we shall have is going to be a status code. So we're going to specify a status code as. So I'm going to import two things from FastAPI. I'm going to import HTTP exception and then status. So I'll come import status first, and then we shall also import exception. So I'll say from FastAPI dot exceptions, we import HTTP exception. So for this, so right now we have imported this. So the first thing I'm going to do is to attach the status code. So the status code is going to be status dot say HTTP 01 unauthorized. So right now it's going to be unauthorized, and then I'll specify that the detail of this exception is going to be in this case, if we don't have a valid token, we shall say that you have an invalid token. And after doing this, we are also going to go ahead and create a route for creating an order. Let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is to create the route. So I'm saying order router, and then we shall specify that this is going to have the post method. So the post method is going to have the route of slash order, just like you can see in our readme.md. So if I open up our readme.md right here, they give you a preview. API slash order, that's going to help us to place an order. If I close this, I need to go right here, and what I'll do is to create the async view function. So we shall say async def. So we shall say place an order. So in this case, it's going to be place an order. Then right here, we're going to specify the order we are going to make use of. So the order is going to be of type our schema. So we're going to actually make use of our schema that we imported from schemas. So I'm just going to come right here and say that we validate any order data using our order model. So I'll say order model, and then we're going to also protect this route. So I'll add the authorized dependency. So it's going to be of JWT, and then this will be a dependency. So I'll call the depends function. So after doing that, we are also going to do the same thing. So instead of repeating this, I'm just going to copy this line of this code, and what I'll do is to simply add it to this. So after doing this, I'm going to go ahead, and what I'm going to do is to create a new order. So what we're going to do is to get the current user's identity, and then after attach that user to a specific order. So to do this, what I'm going to do, actually we have a spelling mistake here. It's supposed to be exception, and let's see, so we have exception, we have exceptions. This is also going to be exception. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get the current user's identity. So to do that, I'll just come and say current user. This is going to be GITHUB. Actually, it's going to be authorize get. In this case, we're going to say get GITHUB subject. Right after doing this, we are going to go ahead and create an order with this GITHUB. So the GITHUB subject is going to be the username of that user who created the token. So let's go ahead and query the database for this user. So I'm going to go ahead and say user is going to be equal to. So right here, we are going to import our session and our engine. So the session is going to allow us to query our database. We say from database. So we're going to import session, also going to import engine. So when we come and say session query, and then we shall pass in user, and then right now what we do is going to be to filter a user with this specific username, which is hidden in our current user variable. So what we're going to do is say user dot username is going to be equal to current user. So this return the current user. So we're going to return the first object, this username. And after doing that, we're going to go ahead and create our new order and then attach it to this specific user variable. What I'll do is to say a new order is going to be an type order. So it's going to have the following attributes. So right now we see that in our schema, we are required to provide a quantity as well as a pizza size. So what I'm going to do is to come right here and we are going to come and say that the pizza size, in this case we're going to say that pizza size is going to be order. In this case we shall say pizza size. And what we're going to do is to also provide the quantity. So we're going to say quantity. In this case it's going to be order. In this case we shall say quantity. So after doing this, we're going to attach this order to the currently logged in user. So we're going to say new user, new order, I mean. Sorry for that. So right now, if we go to our models.py, we established a relationship between an order and the user. So that relationship is user. That means that we can be able to access an order and then we say order.user. So this will actually return the user who made that specific order. So when we do that, I'm going to come within orders, order routers, and what I'll do is to say new order.user is going to be equal to our user. Then I'm going to go ahead and save this with session. So I'll say session dot add user and session dot commit. So right now, let's check if we created a session instance. I'm pretty sure I did not create it here. So we need to go ahead and create it right here. So I'll say session going to be right here. This is going to be our session class because we use session maker to create this session class. But go back to our database.py, we actually have a session class from session maker. So we create an instance of this session. So this is going to be an instance of session. And then we're going to bind this to one engine. So we're going to say bind is equal to the engine that we specified, which is this engine. We're going to go ahead and say bind is going to be equal to engine. Alright, so right here we are going to just return a message showing that we've created our new order. So let's try to see. So right now we have our order. So we are going to specify the status code. So let's say status code. So in this case, we're going to say status code. So in this case, let's see, we have status already imported. So we shall say that our status code, in this case, is going to be status HTTP 01 created. So we need to also be able to return a response. So to return a response, I'm going to use JSON encoder to return our response. So what I'll do is to come and simply return and the order. So I'll just come right here and say just going to return a JSONable encoder to return our response. So I'm going to import the JSONable encoder. So I'll say from FastAPI encoders, I'm going to import the JSONable encoder. So right after importing that, I'm just simply going to come right here and say we're going to return. So we can actually create our response. So we're going to create our response. And our response in this case is going to be an object. So we're going to have an object right here. So this object is going to have the data that we've sent. So we shall say the pizza. So what we shall say is going to be the pizza size. So we're going to return the pizza size, and the pizza size in this case is going to be a new order pizza size. So we're going to access the pizza size, and then what we can also pass in the quantity. So we can say the quantity. So in this case, the quantity is going to be new order quantity, and then we're also going to make use of our ID. So I'm going to return our ID. So our ID is going to be new order ID. Then we're also going to return our order status. So say order status is going to be a new order order status. Alright, so what I'll do is to just return this response. So I'll say return this enable encoder and then we pass in a response. So after saving this, we test this route. So I need to go to my Insomnia. So using Insomnia as my testing tool. So we first log in, then acquire a token. So I'm going to send this request. Let's hope our server is still running. So and then go pull up the terminal. Try to see over to Insomnia. So right now we've been able to access our token. So we're going to get the token, copy it, then head over to we're going to create a new request. So this request is going to be for creating, actually let's say place an order. So I'm going to make this post request create specify with the JSON. So I'm just going to come here and provide. So in this case we want pizza size. So we're going to specify our pizza size. Our pizza size in this case is going to be, let's say, large. Let's say we want to also say specify quantity. Let's say I want 2 large pizzas, so we're going to put the quantity as 2. So if I go to localhost 8000, and I'll say slash orders and slash order. So we also put in the header, so the header is going to provide that token. So this is going to be our authorization header. Then the next thing we're going to do is to specify bearer and then the token that we access from our login route. Everything's fine. I'm going to go ahead and make this request. So right now we see we have an internal server error. So let's see what we have. So right now we see new user is not defined. Actually, it's supposed to be new order. So we're going to specify this is new order. So when I save, I'm going to restart. So our server has restarted, and when I go back to Insomnia and make this request again, so right now we see that we've been able to create our order with a status code of 201. So in this video, we've been able to see how to create orders using our schema. as well as storing that order in our database. So guys, thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Please subscribe to the channel for more content.